Hello there. It is December 27th, and normally I would be going in for chemo today, but I'm going in just for a blood test. I was really emotional about that the last few days. I just still think that's purging trauma. I've still had some disbelief, like, I can't believe this happened. That still comes up sometimes. So I had my chemo week and I had Percocet week, which trickled in to the third week a little bit. I'm definitely not trying to take Percocet, but there were some days where I was like, this last cycle's been harder than the rest. And I saw that with a lot of people in the group that I'm in online on Facebook. They said, man, all the cycles are hard, but it gets worse as you go. And that sixth cycle was like, I got hit by a truck. And I thought, oh my gosh, I wonder if that's how it's going to be for me. It was definitely worse than the others in some ways. And in some ways not as bad. But I think I've mentioned like an internal discomfort, that physical, that I don't know how to explain. And that's what the Percocet really touches on. I can only guess at what that is. Definitely inflammation, but what else? Dysfunctional cellular level because of chemo and lack of oxygen. I don't know, just guessing. So my blood test last week would be showing the reality, which is like everything's low. And this week, I think it's probably going to be low again. But I'll say last week, I felt way better than any chemo or Percocet week, because that third week, I always feel a lot better. And I didn't feel great, but it's better than any week that I get chemo or have the new last step. So here I'm going into the fourth week, the last week of 2022. No chemo. I do have PET scan tomorrow, and let me tell you, there's this term that's been thrown around in this group again that I'm on Facebook, scanxiety, scan and anxiety. So when people go back for their scans or their PET scans or their CT or their PET scans, there's this like, oh my God, what if it's grown or what if it's back? And I do have that going on. What it looks like in my mind is, what if the chemo didn't work after the second cycle? Because my PET scan, according to Moffitt, was, you're in complete recovery. We suggest you do the last 4 cycles, our EPOC. And I was already past my 4th cycle, so I had 2 more to go at that point when I got that news. And what else is on my mind? What if they were wrong at Moffitt? What if when I went for my scan, I ate too many carbs the day before? Because you're not supposed to have any sugars and just low carb. I was like, I don't know. What if I ate too much carbs that day, and it threw off the reading, and it doesn't look like there's anything there, but there is. And tomorrow's my PET scan, so today's a low carb day, super low carb already. I don't mind. It's not that hard right now. I'll talk about that in another video. And then there's, what if I ate too much sugar or carbohydrates, and I fed the abnormal cells over the last 4 cycles? Or what if I didn't take enough walks and circulate the blood in my body? What if I didn't get enough rest? Just all these what ifs are in my mind. I'm not going to say they're constantly there, but when I think about that I have a PET scan tomorrow, it's all right there in that moment. Wednesday, I see Dr. Renee. Thursday, I go see the radiation oncologist. That is a standard protocol thing, because if you have a tumor or a mass over 7.5 centimeters, even if chemo and your PET scan reveal nothing, they still want you to see them after your PET scan, just to get their opinion of if you should have any radiation or not. So prayers, fingers crossed, whatever, that the PET scan is clear. I don't want to have to deal with whether or not I'm going to think about even doing radiation. I don't want to have to deal with making a decision about that. That's what it is. It's not like I will or I won't. It's just I don't even want to have to contemplate it. I just want it over. I'm done. I'm in the hospital. So I'm in the hospital. I had a fever. Monday night, I felt a little off, I guess. And then Tuesday morning, I had a little post-nasal drip. I did the neti pot, cleared it out. And I fasted on Monday. No carbs, no sugar for a PET scan on Tuesday. And then I didn't eat from Monday night at 8 p.m. until about 2 o'clock on Tuesday, so that my PET scan would take. And then when I left the PET scan place, I started to feel hot. And I kind of felt bad the rest of that day. And then overnight, I felt worse than Monday. And then when I woke up on Wednesday, I checked my temp and it was like 101.5. And then it was going up to like 102.5. And all day it just stayed there. So I called my clinic and they said, okay, sorry about the lighting. They said, okay, we suggest that you go to the ER, let them evaluate you. And what they'll probably do is they'll take some blood and do some tests. They'll probably give you a COVID test, and they'll check your urine. And so when I came in, I had to wait a long time. It only took about 90 minutes to get my initial intake, which is just, why are you here? But it was a really full emergency room when I came in. And I don't think the hospital is fully staffed. And so they can only see as many people as they have staff for. And what you gonna do in the era of COVID? And so I waited. I got here at 5. I did my intake around 6:30. And then at 11, they came and got me. And had a lot of people praying for me and doing energy work. Thank you. And I will tell you, prayer works, energy healing works. Because when I came back in, my temperature was down from 102 to 100.5. And then when I got into an ER room, which was like just maybe a half hour later, it was 100. And my body aches were gone. And it was like an hour prior to that I started feeling better. And so there were certain people that were letting me know what they were doing. And I thanked them specifically, but also everything that everyone has done. I see all of you telling me you're praying for me, and I really, really appreciate it. Or that you're sending love or healing, whatever it is, I appreciate it. Before any treatment was given, my temperature was going down. And it was at 100 right before they gave any treatment, which was basically IV fluids. And then a little while later, Tylenol, and then they gave me antibiotics, which is the standard for this condition. Chemo-induced being immunocompromised from chemo means my white blood cells are low, so my ability to fight infection is minimal. So my white blood cells were in normal range, but on the low end on Monday. But I'm still considered immunocompromised, because it doesn't mean they'll stay there. It's still a little wonky. It was only a month ago that I had my last chemo, so it's not been that long. I told my nurse that I wanted to leave today, and she said, well, and based on what they had told me overnight, they're probably going to admit me. And I really didn't want to get admitted. And what was happening was I was sad about not being home with my kids. And I was sad about leaving Chrissy alone with the kids. Not like she can't handle it. She's amazing. She's done it for so long. But I just didn't want to be in this situation again. I felt sad about that part of it. And so there was a doctor that came in the morning. Let me back up. Overnight, the nurse practitioner came and basically said, you're probably going to stay for 2 days. Like, out of our conversation, that was the takeaway. My nurse came in the morning, and I told her that I wanted to leave today. And she said, well, the doctors will make their rounds, and when they do, it'll be in the morning. I just don't know how early. Because I told her I had a radiation oncology appointment today at 3, and I really didn't want to miss that. And she's like, okay, I understand. I said, and I have kids. And she's like, I really understand that. And she said, you can always check yourself out. She said it would be against medical recommendation, but you can always do that. You just let me know what you want to do. And then a doctor came in and very kindly and lovingly convinced me, without trying to convince me, to stay. And that was actually a lovely and very clear conversation. And what it came down to is just, we really want to be sure that you don't have an infection, because if you do, it's really dangerous because you're immune compromised. And so if they find an infection, then we'll know what it was, and it's getting treated while I'm here. It's getting treated right now. I've already had 2 crazy strong antibiotics. And we don't have all the results yet. I don't know if there's going to be an infection. So the 2 days is really because they take blood, they have to culture it, which takes 48 hours to see if there's anything in the blood. That's sepsis. Since my temperature was going down, I don't think I have sepsis. I think I had like something going on. My son had a sinus congestion thing last week, and I really think that's what it was. But I'd rather be here and have that all worked out than go home and collapse or something, you know? And have something be so much worse. So I'll be here for probably tonight and tomorrow night. And what really helped me is Chrissy and I talked, and I told her what I was sad about, you know, and she said, no, it's different this time. Well, one thing that's different is I don't have cancer. And the news isn't you have cancer, which put her into a very high anxiety state. And that was extra hard for her. And there's a lot of uncertainty. And our children are too young to really know, so there's nothing to tell them. And this time it's like, we know why I'm here. We know what's going on. Well, we can anticipate kind of how it's going to go. So it's a lot different. Yeah, and I'm at Advent Health again in Apopka, and they've been amazing the whole time. I mean, in my mind, I always think they just do some kind of Starbucks customer service training for these people. I say Starbucks because Starbucks is kind of on one of the leaders for what customer service should look like. And that's what I think. They're doing some kind of Starbucks training. Anyway, here's my room. This is a new hospital, so it's very nice. Advent Help is Seventh-day Adventist, and they pride themselves on healthy food and good foods and stuff like that. But the food in a hospital is just, I don't know. But I'll tell you this, they call me and ask me what I want for dinner and breakfast tomorrow. So that part really works for me. So I got to choose what I wanted out of a fairly long list. They do have options for healthier things, but I can't, she asked me if I wanted a salad as a side dish, and I can't have anything raw right now. Sometimes the meals are bad, but I'd say mostly they're mediocre. Probably compared to some hospitals, or definitely hospitals of the past, it's better. Anyway, I'll keep you updated. All right, this is my 3rd day here. I came in on Wednesday night, pretty late, and it's Saturday afternoon. I'm going to be heading home soon. No infection was detected, and I've been on antibiotics, so if there had been anything, it would be wiped out. But I go home, 2 more days of antibiotics. That's just their protocol, and just keep working on my white blood cells. That's it. Seems there was something else I was gonna say, but I think that's it. It's the first day of the new year. Happy New Year. Thank you for watching. I love you. May your life be wonderful.